Hey there, guys. It's Mike Goldstein again with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling Podcast. And we are so lucky today. We have with us Ben Juncker, who has taken one of these small, handyman craftsman type of businesses in his area. And he has been able to turn it into just a massive juggernaut, become wildly successful. And he's going to share with us some of the tips of how he was able to do that. So maybe you're able to figure out how to take your business and turn it into one of these juggernauts as well. And we're going to do all of that just after this.
Are you looking for some fresh ideas to jumpstart your kitchen remodeling business? Welcome to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling Podcast. Your host, Michael Goldstein, founder of Kitchen Remodeling SEO, the digital marketing agency working exclusively with kitchen remodeling contractors. And also, the author of the Ultimate Internet Marketing Guide for kitchen remodeling contractors, will provide insights on proven tips and strategies from top experts in this space so that you can take advantage of industry best practices. Your host, Michael Goldstein. Join Mike as he shares his knowledge each week with an insightful interview or educational segment about how to turn your online marketing efforts into more kitchen remodeling leads and sales opportunities than ever before.
And we're back, and we're going to bring in with us today, Ben. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing fantastic. We are so excited to have you on the show today. But Ben, for those people who who are watching the show live on YouTube, for those who are listening, tell me a little bit about who the heck are you, and how did you come about to come on the show?
So I started Craftsman's Choice in 1998 with a business partner, and at that time we were just a couple of knuckleheads putting siding and roofing on, and we came across this product, James Hardy siding. It's a fiber cement siding, and really realized that was kind of where the market was taking things. And at that time, that it wasn't that popular of a product in our area in Minneapolis. And so we were able to get in on the ground floor and really ran with that, and have used that product to kind of launch our business and become the experts in that field.
Well, that's great. I mean, so many people, they start off almost as a hobby, right? They say, geez, I love swinging the hammer, right? I love just fixing things, or I love putting up, siding, putting on roofing, whatnot, and they're able to turn it into a business. But the problem that I see is that a lot of people, they stop there, and it's just them and a buddy, or just a one man show, and they never really take the steps to grow it into a flourishing, profit generating enterprise. And that's something that you guys clearly were able to do. And and you now seem to be the best known in the area. um,
Yeah, and either a hobby or a series of bad life choices, and mine was
sure.
mine was the latter. I ended up ended up picking up shingles at a job site. I'm like, wow, this is not the greatest job in the world. How do I get better? Siding looks better. Let me do siding. But to
Yeah.
your point, there are just a lot of guys that get stuck at that level, and it's really, when you take it from being a handyman to a business, uh, most of us haven't had these business courses where they teach us, how to read a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, some of those things. But I think even before you get to that, you need to have some sort of process that you want to have happen on your jobs. And once you get that and it's repeatable, then you're able to really, find out where the gaps are in your business and build from there.
No doubt. And I think the other big problem that a lot of people have is, they may be great handyman, great craftsmen in general, but to get other people to know that you are and to be able to promote yourself, it's a really hard thing. And a lot of times, people, they don't want to advertise. They just figure, well, if I just let hang my shingle out as it was, and people will come and find me. And you guys were able to kind of take that to the next level, and really, like I said, become the most well known in the area. But take me back a little bit, when you were just you and a buddy there. I mean, what did you do to really become so well known? What did you do to get the word out about yourselves?
Well, our first marketing campaign was rollerblading around with flyers and putting those in mailboxes. And we started to build some things up from that. At that time, phone books were the big deal. Like
Yeah.
you had to have an ad in the phone book, and they were super expensive, but they worked. And there was like a transition that was very short from where the phone books were the best to just a money suck, and it happened pretty
Yeah.
fast. And so, we have a couple local home shows that we do here. The state fair is huge in Minnesota. So we were able to tap into that. But over the last 6 to 7 years, we've had a website for quite a while,
Right.
but hadn't really put a lot of investment into that. And
Mhm.
the last 6 or 7 years, we've really pounded on that and been able to get our website really generating most of the lion's share of our leads now.
And that's great to hear that, digital marketing is working for you. It's one of the things that I talk about a lot on this show is really, we're not in the yellow page world anymore. And honestly, I mean, referrals are great. And, we certainly welcome them when they come in, but they're not predictable. It's not a sustainable way to grow a business. The only way you can really do that is by using, search engine optimization, Google Ads, social media, all the different tools at our disposal, and the biggest thing is why do they work? It's because that's where our audience lives, and I imagine that's something that you and your company really went through is trying to figure out, well, where do we talk to our customer base? How do we get that perfect avatar, and where do we find that perfect avatar? um, how did you go about doing that, at least on your end?
Well, we're a little different than a lot of home improvement companies. A lot of home improvement companies want to catch people at the end of the funnel when they're
Hmm.
ready to buy. We want to be a resource to them. So our SEO strategy is built around colors and design. So we want to find these homeowners when they're looking at colors. And
Hmm.
so our website's built around color and design so that we can catch them early in the process. And by the time they get to the point where they're ready to do a project, they visit our site a bunch of times, they've got it bookmarked, and they're like, all right, well, let's give these a call. And it's a product that they want. So that's what we've really tried to hit on, is being that resource, because it's not an impulse decision.
No,
This is
it,
something
it's
that
it's a
people
long
research. Yeah.
yeah, it's really a long cycle, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people, especially when they're dealing with like kitchen remodeling or
Hmm.
full home renovations, it's you didn't see a candy bar at the aisle of the supermarket, say, geez, I'd like that right now. I mean, it's
Right.
something that you've really had to think about. And I think, to your point about not looking at the bottom of the funnel, but rather at the top of the funnel, or at least in the middle of it, when people are starting to gather information. And I know a big push with a lot of our clients and our marketing agency is to have that right lead magnet, to have the kitchen planning guide, to have that checklist. And if you can catch people when they're still researching, and you can become the most well-known kitchen remodel, the most well-known roofing contractor, whatever your home service is of choice, in your area, then you need to be the first one they think of. So that's fantastic that you really think in that way.
Yeah, and I wrote a book last year that it's the Minnesota Homeowner's Guide to
Hmm.
exterior siding, and
Hmm.
it's probably the most boring book on Amazon unless you're searching for siding in
Sure.
Minnesota, right? So,
Sure.
most people will go through this process maybe once in their lifetime. I think a
Right.
lot of times guys get insulated in their industry, both with their jargon and that assuming that everybody's done this or heard of these products or know how it goes. And for most homeowners, I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes they'll put off these projects for years because it just scares them to death. They don't all they've heard is horror stories. And so if we can help them by outlining that process, I think it lifts the
Yeah.
entire industry.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So you wrote the book. People can go get it on Amazon, by the way. How do you kind of balance the aspect of people are searching for, I want siding, versus you want to talk about all the intricacies of siding, and why you want this siding or that siding, or you know what is it that you do to kind of not fall in the, I know everything about siding and I want to talk about it, to getting people actually interested and want to learn more from you?
So I think it they both fit together and kind of lift together. So as the homeowners that want to get into the weeds and talk about the
Yeah.
composition of the siding and this versus that,
Mm,
we have that resource that we can send them, or we can, talk to them at the fair, which, we do, or at the home shows, which we do quite a
sure.
bit. And a lot of times, again, that's earlier in the process, then it's time to get siding. And so if
Yeah.
they've got the book, they've, bookmarked our website,
Hmm.
they've seen us at the shows, they've seen us on the James Hardy website, the building that whole kind of digital footprint, that everywhere they go to look for Hardy siding or for siding in general in Minnesota, they're
Hmm.
seeing our brand. Just
Yeah.
helps to reinforce that, hey, we should at least call these guys. I just need to be one of the three, right? Like,
Yep. Yep.
I just need to be one of the three that they call, and
Well,
not get every lead, but
yeah,
one of the
and it's
three.
it's interesting you say that because a discussion that I have with clients all the time is, "Hey, I want to be in that local three pack." When someone searches for siding near me, or siding in Minneapolis, or whatever it might be that's someone's looking for, um, you don't need to be number one. You just need to be in that top three, because what's going to happen is, at least from a search standpoint, people are going to look at the reviews. They're going to do some research. Nobody decides just, hey, I want to go with this one guy and I'm not going to talk to anybody else. And it's not a pricing issue. If you're just going to go in and try and be the cheapest, most affordable siding company, well, you're going to get that kind of a client too, and you're going to get people who are going to nitpick everything and never be happy. But if you can provide the education like you're doing, and if you can just be one of those guys, it gives you the opportunity to really show your expertise. And I think that's really great. And by having a book that you like you do, I think that gives you that added emphasis of, I really am the expert. So let me ask you this, I'm just curious, how long did it take you to write the book?
Well, it was basically a series of blog posts that we edited down, into a more
Yep.
reader friendly option. But
Hmm.
uh, about a year, about a year of
Wow, that's
different blog posts, and putting those together. We got the first edition out there. It's not, exactly what we wanted, but we've got something we can hand out to people, and that they can download. So we're
yeah.
working on tweaking it, but
It's a
it's out
lot of
there.
it's a lot of dedication, but I think at the end of the day, it gives something tangible that people can take away. And one of the things I've always told people is, if you want to have a book, right? But writing a book is not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Mm-mm.
You know what is easy to do? Talk to people.
Yep.
Have a podcast,
Yep.
right? And then if you have a podcast like this, you record your podcast and you're talking for 30 minutes at a shot, 40 minutes at a shot, and after 4 or 5 weeks, take that, have it transcribed, and you've got something that you can really work with. So it's not that difficult to do it. It's something that we tell all of our clients, you really should do. And then go on Amazon, and it gives you, like I said, just gives you that automatic credibility. That yeah, how many times have you heard, we wrote the book on this, we wrote the book on that? Well, you actually wrote the book. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, for a lot of companies, it's that, focus. They're too busy running materials or doing something else that, as a business owner, that really shouldn't be on their plate. That puts
mhm,
out that fire for just the minute, but if you don't
yeah,
have yourself organized in a manner that you're going to be able to devote a certain amount of your time to working on the business, to optimizing your website, those things that really are becoming more and more important, literally every day.
right.
There's just more and more out there. Um, and that's what we've tried to do as a business, is stay so far ahead of our competition in some of these
Mhm.
areas that they just throw their hands up,
That
because right now, I guess fortunately, business is good. So a
sure.
lot of companies are just solely focused on production. They're not focused on marketing or sales, because you go into a house and
Yeah,
the question is more often, when can you start, not how much it
right.
is, or they run you through the ringer. But if you're working on things consistently, while your other, your competition is focused elsewhere, that just puts a bigger gap between you and them.
Well, I mean, what you're really talking about is strategy versus
Mhm.
just reacting.
Yep.
And that's key. And I imagine that's one of the things that allowed you to grow to the size that you are. So let me ask this. Once you once you kind of shifted from that startup phase and you shifted from, being the one two man shop to having crews and to be able to take on more projects at a time, how did that change the way that you approached your marketing? Did it change the way you or even you approached your pricing or any of that?
Yeah, it did. At that time, I had a business partner. He headed up marketing and
Mhm.
sales. I took care of the accounting and some of the production side. But then in 2014, I ended up buying him out. He wanted to go hike the mountains of Montana for a while, so he did
Nothing wrong with
that.
that.
And yep, yep. So at that time, I really, I needed to sit down and figure out how I was going to do this, by myself. And so it was pulling back the production side, getting that off of my plate because I knew I wasn't going to have the time to do that. And at that time, we also converted over to a CRM, Contractors Cloud, which allowed us to integrate that process that we outlined and have it trackable and some accountability into the system so that we knew what happened on every job. And so that really freed up, you know, basically a lot of people. We could scale with technology and not necessarily adding a bunch of people. And so that helped us to limit the amount of staff that we had to bring on to do that scaling. And since then, it's just been incremental growth. Occasionally, we'll have a plateau year that we just say, all right,
Mhm.
we're not going to be in super growth mode this year because we need to find out where our gaps are. We need to find out, what do we need more staff? Do we need more technology? Do we want to go to that next step? Is that next step
Sure.
worth the jump in marketing, worth the jump in staff that we need to take on?
Finding that sweet spot is so critical. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've worked with who were doing 25, 30K a month, and then they decided they're going to grow. And now they're doing 75, 80K a month. And, when we talk about profitability and they say, I actually had more money in my pocket at 25 than I did at 75.
Yeah.
We just have a whole lot more overhead, and you've got to find out what that sweet spot is for you and your company that really allows you to be the best that you can be, rather than just, hey, I've got a seven figure business, look at me. Well, having a seven figure business is great if you're taking seven figures home. Not
Right.
if,
Yeah. Revenue is a vanity number. How much?
it
What's the
is.
profit?
Yeah.
What's the profit that's there? That's the
Yeah.
important question.
Yeah. So let me just, when with all the the changes in the market, with all the supply chain, with the labor shortage, how has that affected you guys? And have you been able to compensate for that, or have you have to change the way that you do business because of it?
Yeah, the biggest impact that we've had is on windows. Windows are just kind of a nightmare right now. They're out so far
Right.
that they hold up a lot of the projects. But with some of the price increases that have come, as long as you have an ability to stay ahead of those, if you get plenty of time notice with that, a lot of our competitors really are whining about it. But I just want to say, guys, you just got to raise. Like if your price is based off of materials and labor, and then you've got profit on that, you just got to raise. So, what we've seen is revenue go up, and our margins stay the same, but we're doing less jobs. And
Right.
so, that's a good thing. If you can get bigger jobs, squeeze more dollars out of every project, it's been a pretty good year. Just the stupid windows are really a pain.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I know. I tell you, a lot of we work with a lot of people who are doing cabinet refacing,
Hmm.
and they've all realized that a cabinet refacing, we might be able to pump out a project every 3 4 days, but we got to keep selling and we got to keep selling, and our margins really are not there. Whereas if you can do a bigger project, it allows you to put more time, more effort into it, but also allows you to generate a lot more without having to worry about, am I going to be backed up, and do I have to use person A's money to cover person B's project, person B to C. Ultimately, that's where issues come up. But let me just kind of getting back to what I had asked before in terms of the way that you you do the marketing as well. Has that changed really, where you need to concentrate on clients who can afford the higher price point rather, and they really more concerned with quality than just, hey, how quickly can you be in and out?
Yeah, marketing hasn't changed too much, just because we're so heavily, focused on the James Hardy siding, and as
Right.
James Hardy grows in popularity, people see it, and really, they didn't they didn't take as many price increases as some of the vinyl siding manufacturers, and
Hmm.
so the gap between the best product in our market and vinyl siding it was closing, and so it's not that um,
Hmm.
of a gap as it has been in the past. So that actually is one thing that's helped. So more people are considering it, that it's not that
Right.
far out of reach.
Right. Do you find that because you have a name brand behind you that it's a little bit easier to sell because you don't have to sell yourself as much as you're selling a brand?
Yeah, I think, they land on the brand, and then they see our experience with that
Yeah.
product
Right.
that they want. And,
Right.
having done it since the year 2000, there's nobody in the market that's really even close to that. We print out it's a
Mhm.
little ridiculous, but we print out, a 30-page front and back reference list of the projects that we've done. So, we can hand this
Mhm.
giant book over to people of jobs that we've done and colors and, all the things.
Yeah.
And it's, like, wow, this is pretty
So
hefty. And then they're thumbing through and they're like, oh, I know this guy. I know this guy. This
yeah.
is down the road, that helps as well. Just kind of set people at ease.
Yeah, for sure. I know one of the big pieces that I always tell people is, get your Google reviews in place, get your Facebook reviews in place, because you can tell people anything you want about yourself, but nothing's going to sell you as much as your the customer's neighbor is going to sell you. Turning customers into advocates is such a huge component, I think, of getting the conversion and getting people interested. And if you can show them, hey, we worked on this guy's house, and they know even one of them. I mean, oh well, you must be decent, you must be legitimate, and
Right.
I think it removes a lot of objections before they ever kind of come to light.
Yeah, definitely. And as I understand it, is Google has taken those reviews into, quite a bit more into consideration as
They are,
they're figuring out who comes up organically. So
yeah,
it's
they
another added bonus of it.
Yeah, they definitely are. There's actually Search Engine Journal came out with a report, and John Mueller, who's the spokesperson for Google, who basically will admit to nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and
Mhm.
he even came out and kind of hinted that the more reviews you have, the better chance that you're going to increase your ranking within the local three pack within the Google Business Profile ranking. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah, it's something I mean, we really, really work on, and it's hard. I mean, it takes effort.
Yeah,
People are just surveyed out, they're reviewed out. You can close
yeah,
out a project with them, and they're super happy, and we love everything went great. And hey,
yeah.
I'm gonna text you a link for a Google review. And, oh yeah, 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 for sure. And
They'll
just
never do it.
it never comes. Yeah,
No,
it's
no, you
oh
know what? One of our larger clients, they have a full-time video crew, believe it or not. And what they do
wow,
is they always tell people, "Hey, when we're going to do the walkthrough, do you mind if our video? We just want to document the work that we've done." And they get that reaction the first time. And this is for a kitchen remodeler, by the way. So it's you have all the shiny chrome and
hmm
the
yeah,
floors and the cabinets, and you feel, and not that they haven't seen it all the way through, but the first time, and you walk through the finished product, and you just ask them, hey, what do you think about this? And it's been great. They've put a bunch of reviews up on YouTube, and then they'll email the video and say, hey, would you mind posting this?
that's
And it's,
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
it works fantastic because you've taken all the hard work, you've taken the objections away from them. um, you know but it's definitely it's a chore to get someone to review you, for
It
sure.
is. It is. Yeah, I get it. I mean, every store you go into, they give you the receipt and say, "Down at the bottom, we've got this survey. If you take that, we'd really appreciate it."
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do them.
Yeah, what one of the ways I've also found people are doing now is they're giving away gifts at the end of a project, and somewhere on that gift is that QR code. So if they can give a gift that it's going to stay in someone's home forever,
Right.
you're kind of hoping, well, they're going to stare at this QR code, they'll eventually use it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that's really working right now, um, but I've definitely seen a lot of that in terms of just promotional companies that are providing that. One of
Yeah.
the big ones right now is wooden cutting boards. I'm noticing with kitchen remodelers. So they'll finish a project and they'll have a cutting board with their logo and the QR code on the back of it, and no one's going to throw away a wooden cutting board.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but
Yeah. We've gone to, if we've got
yeah,
a service call, it's amazing to me. Like we give a 10-year warranty, and it's amazing to me when people call and they're like, "Hey, we had a bead of caulking pull loose. Can you guys come and take care of it?" This is like 3 years later or something. Like,
yeah,
yeah, of course, of course.
and they're
So
shocked that you
they
actually
are,
uphold the
yeah, that
warranty.
you answer the phone and that you're gonna come out and take care of it. And so a lot of times we'll try and collect the review at that
Yeah.
point, as part of this service call.
Well, not only that, but I mean, guys, if you're listening, take some advice from this. Is you can get 2 reviews out of one now.
Mm, yep.
Because certainly, if they've reviewed you originally, they're probably likely, they did a fantastic job once. And not only that, the minute I had a problem, these guys, they answered their phone, they were out here,
Yeah.
they helped, they did everything possible. Even leverage it, get them on Google one time, get them on Facebook or Houzz or Yelp or wherever, you're trying to get those reviews on the second time around.
Yeah, and I would think that second review is probably, better than the first one, as far as somebody
For
reading
sure.
through and saying, wow, they 8
Yeah.
years later they came back and took care of beta cocking.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I think it just gives a real sense of security to the homeowner. I mean, it's your most valuable possession, your most valuable asset and investment in your life is your home. And if you know that you got to work with someone who's going to stand behind it, so much the better.
Right.
So Ben, you've actually dropped some real golden nuggets on us today, and I'm sure my listeners they have found just great, great value in all of that. But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that? Where would they find you?
So the best place is our website. It's craftsmanschoice.com. 2 S's in there, craftsmanschoice.com. And we've got a lot of resources on there, like I spoke of, but
And can they
that's
find the book there?
the book is there. Yep. Yep.
Excellent. So you're on Amazon, you're on the web, you're omnipresent in all the social channels. It's not hard to find you.
Right. Yeah.
And that's great. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate the conversation. I think that, like I said, the listeners probably found a lot of value in what you had to say, and being able to take some of these and help them grow their business. I'd love to have you back, sooner rather than later. Um, but
Sure.
like I said,
No problem.
just a pleasure. Well,
Yeah.
guys,
Thanks, Mike.
my pleasure. Well, guys, again, this was Mike Goldstein. It was Ben Juncker, and this is the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Tune in next week, and we will see you again soon. Bye bye.